Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Talk Education. In this movie, we're going to keep going down the road with Metasploitable 2, but I'm going to go to work on Mutillidate 2 quite a bit. So it's Metasploitable 2 with Mutillidate 2, and we're really not going to be using Metasploitable 2 right now. What I had you do was install Mutillidate 2 locally on your Kali Linux machine because some of these labs are going to work better. And we're going to start going through these labs and see what we can gather. They're really cool. So let's get started. All right, great. Now that we have Mutillidate 2 installed on our local computer, I want to show you the labs so that you can see where they're at and also walk you through the very first lab. So now of a day when you're getting ready to work with Mutillidate 2 on your local Kali computer, the first thing you're going to do is bring up the terminal window. And if I do an ls, you can see that I have a folder out here. This was from a previous video where we installed Mutillidate locally on our Kali machine. I'm going to cd into Mutillidate Docker and do an ls, and you'll notice here that there is a file called Docker up. So we're going to type in Docker compose up. So the word is Docker compose, and what it's going to do, since there is a YAML file out here already, this is the description of what it needs to do to install Mutillidate in a Docker container. Not install it, but get it up and running. Docker compose up is going to bring that up. So we'll hit enter. It doesn't take very long to do this now that we've got this settled down. What you do is let it run a minute just to make sure everything's cool. And you're going to leave that running. So we have to leave that running in order to access Mutillidate 2. Next thing I'll do is I'll bring up Firefox here. And in Firefox, I know that I told you guys that when we're going through the weaponized videos, that he just types in mutillidate.local. Not going to work. I don't know for sure how to make that work, but I do know that if we type in the local loopback address 127.0.0.1 and we hit enter, it'll take us to the Mutillidate 2 website. You remember that this is OWASP. It's associated with OWASP, so this is very, very good because it gives you a chance to see how you're doing with web service vulnerabilities and searching out those vulnerabilities and getting them caught. That's what OWASP is all about. Anyway, it's all about web vulnerabilities. Now, you also know that we had an extension installed called HTTP Header Live. You're going to want that running because we're going to use that here in just a minute. Okay, so let's start this. Now, the first thing I want to introduce you to is the home screen has changed just a little bit from Mutillidate 1. So if I look here, here's all of the OWASP 2017 stuff that we should be concentrating on. And you've got a whole bunch of headers like SQL injection, other types of injection, broken authentication, and so forth. We've got a ton of these different areas to go look at. What OWASP does is they create what's called the top 10 every year. And then these top 10 are different vulnerabilities that they have spotted within web pages, websites. Then there's OWASP 2013. It's changed a little bit. Cross-site request forgery and unvalidated redirects and forwards. OWASP 2010. OWASP 2007. You can see OWASP has been around a while. Web services like SOAP and REST. Then there's some others. So it's very, very prolific. There's a lot going on here. And then one that we're interested in is labs right here. So what we're going to do is grab a lab. I'm going to go to lab number 1 here, how the web works. This is a very beginning starting tutorial on the labs, and we're going to go to this lab right here. Now it's asking us a question. What version of web server is running according to the server response header? So that's what we're supposed to find out. One way we can do that is we can click our extensions here. You should install this extension called HTTP Header Live. And then I'm going to turn off auto scroll. I'm going to hit this page again. So I'll just refresh this page. And it gives you all the headers off of here. And it's asking for the server version. So if we look down through here, we have a bunch of requests and gets. Here's a get. We're going to get a 200 successful, like that. And it shows us that it's running Apache 2.4. So the answer to this question would be 2.x. But there's another way to get this as well, and that is using a Kali tool. We could use a couple. We could use netcat or another tool. Let's try netcat. The other command we could use would be curl, but we're going to go ahead and use netcat on this particular one. First thing I want you to do is be sure that you note that we're using HTTP 1.1 here. That's going to be important to us when we go ahead and try to accomplish this lab. So we'll leave OS running here. You can kill this extension header page and run out and grab a new command prompt here. I'm still in the Mutillidate Docker folder here, just like I was before. And the first thing what we're going to do, and I taught this in a previous movie, but it fails when you're trying to run it against Metasploitable 2. And it will work here, which is why I had you install it locally so you could see how it works and take advantage of the labs. So we're going to echo, and we put in a TAC-NE. Now what TAC-N means is do not create a new line for me. So normally echo will go down to the next line, and we don't want it to do that because we have to build it into our HTTP request here. Also, the E stands for use escape sequences, and we're going to type those in as well. So you can see I've done it once, but I'll do it again. We're going to get space slash space HTTP slash 1.1. That comes from that header thing that we just looked at. Now here's our first set of escape sequences that we have to type in. So we type in a \R \N. That is a carriage return. The R stands for return. N stands for new line. These are called escape sequences. And what we're saying is, hey, when you echo, I don't want you to skip a line because I'm doing a GET request from a web page. And so instead, I'm going to key in the carriage return and new line myself. And the page expects both carriage return and new line. Then we're going to type in host : and now you send it out to loopback 127.0.0.1, and we need 2 carriage returns and new lines. So we do \R \N \R \N, and now what we're going to do is we're going to have it printed out to the screen, but we're also going to have it write to a file. So I'm going to type in the pipe key. Pipe is a redirection operator. And we're going to tell it that we want to pipe it into, we're going to T. T means that it's going to print it out and put it into a file at the same time. And we're going to T/temp request /TMP, and then the file name is request. So we're echoing something. Echoing wants to do a new line for us. We're going to turn that off with this N here. It means no new line. E means that we're going to use our own escape sequences. We do get /HTTP 1.1, first set of escape sequences \R \N, which is a carriage return and a new line. Then the host, we type in localhost, one set of returns, another set of returns. The reason for this is because the body and the head both need 2 different sets. So we have 2 sets in here. We do a pipe, and then we're going to T this into /temp/request. So temp is the name of the folder that we're going to, request is the name of the file. And what T does is it prints out the contents to the screen, but it also writes it to the file. So I'm going to hit enter here, and it did a beautiful job. And now if I cat /temp request, it shows me the same thing. So that's what we're doing so far. Okay, now that we know that that's working and we have that request built into temp and in the request file, now what we can use is netcat. So we can type in netcat, or if you prefer, it's been shortened to NC. So you can use NC, which will work just fine. We tell it that we want to go out to the Mutillidate box, which in this case is 127.0.0.1. And then we want to pipe it into port 80, like so. And normally you would put a colon here. You do not do that with netcat. You put a space in here. And then we put a redirection operator that we're going to get some information from temp/request. So what's happening here? We're invoking netcat on this website right here, 127.0.0.1, port 80, and then we're telling it that we want to pipe in, so it's pointing this way to the left. We're going to go get the contents of request, pipe it into here, and then let's see if we can get anything out of this. So we hit enter, and we get the page. Now this is very cool, because now we have the entire page that we can go look at. And you may not know what you're looking at. So this is a point where you're like, okay, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Now what I need to do is I want to go in and learn some HTML. And so I've decided that I'm going to go down another track and create another set of movies, which is basic web dev, so that you have a feel for what's happening here and you can read all of these different tags like this. These are called elements or tags, so that you can read those things. Now, some of you have probably had a class in high school or in college on HTML, and that's fine. And it's a big, long thing. HTML is not hard to learn. CSS, cascading style sheets, and JavaScript are. So that's a different story. But right now, all we did was we used netcat to print out the page to us, and this is what the page looks like. Now, in our case, what we need to do is we're going to scroll up. So I'm going to just use my scroll bar on my mouse, because I don't think page up works. No, it doesn't. And we're going to go to the very, very top of the page. There's quite a little bit of content, so you've got to scroll quite a little ways. What we're looking for, if you recall, is the lab wants us to figure out what the version of the server is, the web server that's running this page. You'll remember that we're using LAMP. This thing is using LAMP, so it's Linux, Apache, MySQL, which is the database, and PHP right here. This is the server-side programming language. You'll probably need to take a PHP class so that you understand PHP. And then we're still going up. We're going up and up and up and up. And we're looking for the top of the page. There's a lot of content on this page. And I think we're almost there. We're getting there. Oh my gosh. And we keep going up a little ways. Quite a page, isn't it? And let me see. Scroll, 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 scroll. We get to the top sooner or later. And we're getting there. And I'm looking at the scroll ribbon on the right-hand side. We're kind of getting there. Look at this. It's massive, isn't it? So if you were, doing OWASP and you had to page through all this stuff and figure out where there might be some problems, that would be an issue because there's a lot of code on this page. Most of it is HTML code, although it's calling some JavaScript file or some PHP files. All right, we're almost there. Here we go. Coming clear to the top and getting there. Scripts, there we go. And we're at the very, very top. So here's where we did the piping in of temp request into this page, and it returned back to us the page. It shows us that we're running HTTP 1.1, and it wants to know what the server is. And the server is running Apache version 2.4.57, and it's Debian Apache, which means that it's running on Kali Linux. Debian is also what is running Ubuntu, which is what Metasploitable 2 is built on, so Debian's fine by us. Well, that was super long. I'm going to clear the screen. Okay, now what we can do is we can come in here and get our commands back. So I'm going to come up here and get my command back right here. And instead of going with a get like we did before, we've got echo tac-ne get, we're going to change this to head, H-E-A-D. And what it's going to do is just return the headers to the page to us. And I'm also going to put this in a different file. I'm going to put this in a file called head so that the headers are different than the full web page. That's in request. Now we're putting just the headers in a section called head. And we get it back and we can cat/temp/head like this. And it shows us that we got the head. Now what we do is hit our up arrow. And we're going to do a cat right here, but this time instead of using /temp/request with the file that's going to bring back the entire page, we're going to use /head, which is going to just bring back the headers like this. And now it's easy for us to tell that this is running Apache 2.4.57. Okay, knowing that, then we can answer this question. So we can say, well, these are other popular web server software products. It's not running Microsoft Internet Information Server. It's called IIS. We're not running that. I don't think we're running Apache Lite. This is another web server project called Nginx, or Nginx. I don't know how it's pronounced. But we know for sure that we're going to run Apache 2.x. So we'll submit, and boom, we got it correct, and we go on to the next lab. And that's it for now. I will see you in the next movie when we work on Mutillidate Lab 2. Why do we like this? Well, because we're learning about OWASP, and we're learning about how to spot vulnerability inside websites so that we can fix them, because bad guys could get into these websites if we didn't fix them. That's the whole point with OWASP and with this Mutillidate lab. So I'll talk to you on the next video. Have a great day.